we feeling? Did you all have fun? Did everyone learn a lot? And is everyone so excited to see powerhouse women and Jeff on stage? I think this is just the right way to end what has been an incredible 2 days with these incredible women and Jeff and I moderating. And I'm so excited for you to meet each of them and ask them the questions. So remember, our topic is Beyond the Color Pink, Unlocking Women's Power in Branding, Business, and Impact. Did we already get a woo for that? Woo! Okay, I don't just want to hear the women. Let me hear everyone. There it is. There it is. This is going to be a fun panel, everybody. We're all going to introduce ourselves, and then we'll jump in. And I will start. My name is Nicea DeGering. I have been in Utah television now for almost 3 decades. And I've done a little bit of everything from crime reporting to morning anchoring and weekend anchoring and emceeing and commercials and radio. And now I am one of the co-hosts of an Emmy award-winning show called Good Things Utah that is 22 years old. And we've been live here in Salt Lake City, for 22 whole years. And I have had this, thank you, unique lens, because I think that's the right word, right, from the camera, of our state for all these years and the growth in our state. And I'm from here, so I've been able, not many TV people are able to say that their whole career has been where they're from. I graduated in broadcasting at BYU, and I stayed because I'm passionate about telling the stories in our state, and it's been so fun to watch the growth and the change in Utah over the last 30 years. I'm excited today to moderate and facilitate this conversation with my co-host and my co-moderator, Jeff. Take it away.
Wonderful. I'm so excited to be here and humbled to be in this in the presence of these wonderful women. And a lot of you are probably saying, why is there one weird guy in a female panel? And I'll just say it this way, that I'm a dad of 2 daughters, a 20-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I want to show my daughters through business that women can do impossible things. My personal goal is to unlock potential in 100,000 women in 5 years. And we're starting programs of coaching, mentoring, and pitch competitions for women to get grants and start their own businesses. So we're going to ignite dreams. But I run a brand called Gimme Beauty, distributed in 25,000 stores, Ulta Beauty, Target, Walmart, and others. But it's hair care, brushes, combs, claw clips. But find us in your local Targets, all nationwide. But I also run a CPG forum. I love the Retail Collective. Shout out to Jeremy for what he's doing in Utah to build business. So yes, happy to be here. And we're just going to turn it over to the women. We'll go down this way and just introduce yourselves, and then we'll jump into questions.
All right, so I'm Jen Brockbank. I'm CXO at Volcanic Retail, and I do a little bit of operations for a Retail Collective. So we're really grateful to be here and partnering with Silicon Slopes to make this happen. I'm really here to push conversations about women and put women in the forefront because it is so important to me. And like Jeff, I have daughters. So as much pavement as I can lay down on this road for them, as many questions as I can push to get answered, I want to answer for them so that they have an easier path. So that's why I'm here. That's why I feel so passionate. And the background behind Volcanic Retail and Retail Collective is that there's so much amazing talent here in Utah, and really, we lead in the United States. We lead the world. Post-COVID world kind of opened up this opportunity for everyone to push their products into the U.S. if they hadn't been, and so we're just seeing a lot of growth in every opportunity here post-COVID. I just wanted to say that Volcanic has been really influential in helping brands and buyers connect as a B2B SaaS platform. And really, I want to see more women have brands. It's just a beautiful thing. And let's get more conversations regarding women and then, more business owners for women.
I'm Melanie Jones. I'm the editor-in-chief of Utah Business Magazine. I spent the first 29 years of my career at the intersection of manufacturing and dentistry, which are both highly male-dominated fields. So when I think about what I hope to bring in leadership and to the community. There were things that were really hard for me back then, starting my career in the mid-90s, things that were really hard being in male-dominated industries as a young woman that I don't think have to be so hard. And I just hope that I can be a part of making that easier for the next group of women who are starting their careers. After that stint in, it was 29 years in manufacturing, I went to cosmetics for 2 years, and now here I am in publishing, where I've been for 2 years. And it has been a real privilege and honor to tell the stories of some of you in this room, all the incredible business leaders in the community. And that's what gets me up in the morning and takes me to work, is having the chance to shine a light on your good work. So thanks for having me.
I am Tiffany Vail. First, this is like my least favorite thing to do is the bio, so mine's gonna have to be super quick. I am the mom of 7 kids. I have 5 girls, 2 boys, 5 grandkids. And I have spent my career, I did restructuring, and then I went to the medical field. I've been in manufacturing. I co-founded a tech company, and I'm in e-commerce. And I think it's really important for women to understand that, like, we can do it all. We might not be able to do it all at the same time, but we can, and we're tough enough to do it, and there's a seat at the table for all of us, so.
That's awesome. She beats me. Normally, if I sit here and say I have 6 kids, I win, but I lose today. That's okay. You can have 7. 6 is a couple too many. My name is Kristin Andrus. I run a nonprofit called Gathering for Impact under my family foundation. And when I drop my kids off, between the time of dropping them off and picking them up, I try to go about doing as much good as I possibly can. I love sitting in people's stories, kind of like you know, whether it's on apartment floors or, you know, understanding things like Section 8 housing or food stamps or barriers, not by reading about them or looking at policy, but sitting with people in those traumatic and vulnerable situations, which then leads me to try and work on policy, gather women. My nonprofit is Grow, Gather, and Give. And what I've noticed is there are a lot of us in middle age, I'd say generally 35 to 65, and thousands of unique, incredible, amazing women who are not being talked to. And my goal is not to sell them a Traeger, although that would be great. My goal is actually to get them to contribute. It's really to serve and give back and find purpose when their purpose has maybe been lost or gone away for a little bit. And so just this morning, I had 400 women gathered with me. So this is my second gathering of the day. And I just find so much purpose in trying to give back, do good, and gather, just always trying to make things a little bit brighter and better for people.
Are you exhausted?
Yes. It's different than just meeting with my neighbor or going on a walk with a friend, although listening to both is good. And so generally, I think you just start seeing this theme of these women, their kids are in school, their kids are gone, they're eager. The word I have for this women is they are, and by the way, when I've sat with my friends who have full-time jobs and they're so busy and they have all these kids, and I'm like, and I'm speaking to these women and they're like, Kristin, that's me. Like, that's me too. I want to do more good. I want to find purpose. And so everyone I talk to, especially women right now, are saying, and the word I use is contribute, because maybe it's contributing in building a business. Maybe it's contributing in paying your mortgage. Maybe it's contributing and showing up to the food bank and giving back, or it's finding a better way to solve homelessness or other things that hopefully people are working on. And so I feel privileged of the fact that and so I see the gap, and I by the way, everything I do, I just make up, like every day. I just make up whatever I do. And I think mainly that's what we're doing. But I'm trying to help and guide women, because I think when they give back, when they show up in whatever way they want to contribute, that is when they shine. That is when they come. And my word this year for my online community is expansion. When I see women contracting as we get older, or things change, or it's getting quieter around our house, they contract. And my goal is that every day women are expanding like these women into something bigger and brighter and better in helping others, not looking inward, but looking outward. That is where happiness, joy, and purpose come from. And I know that, I feel that, and so I get to share that.
That's amazing. Let's hear it for Kristin. I think I applaud you for giving hope, for selling hope, for giving confidence, and I love that contribution and expansion. We're going to turn it over to Jen on this next question. And Jen's also someone that helps lift and love and inspire and give hope. She wants to leave a legacy for her daughters. So Jen, you love working with brands. You love working with Volcanic and help lift.
I think women kind of dumb themselves down sometimes, and maybe that's going to make a lot of you mad at me. I don't know. But at this conference, I've been hearing a lot of women say, there's this idea, but they might not take themselves seriously. And I really think that any idea deserves, some exploration first. And if it is a good idea, if you can, venture out a little bit further and get bolder with it, I think that's really important. And then just connectivity, like connecting with everyone, that you can, being vulnerable, sharing your mission. And I think that's one of the things that women do so beautifully is that we feel things so deeply, so a lot of, let's say if we are going to be working with a brand, we have this passion that is going to bring an audience that is really going to feel it back, and really you guys can have that connectivity. So I think as long as we're doing that, if I'm telling a brand, put yourself out there, be vulnerable, try, and just a little bit at a time. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Let's be vulnerable and let's mess up. And that's a lot of the messaging this last 2 days that I've heard is, it's been refreshing to hear, like, I don't have to be perfect. All these guys, they've sold 3 businesses by now, but at the beginning it was little baby steps and the willingness to do it imperfectly.
I love your vulnerability. Thank you.
I think it's true. Guys just jump in and women look at it 26 different ways and then dip their toe, right? Rather than just jump. Melanie, I know we have questions that we gave you, but I want to say this first and maybe change yours a little bit. So 3% of commercials portray women in leadership positions. 38.3% of board positions in Fortune 500 companies are women. So we're nowhere near the 50%. How do we get those? How do we change this?
You did change that question on me, Nicea. I don't know if I'm the expert in how to lift women into those positions, but I think that consciousness helps a lot and intentionality helps a lot. So when you're looking around at leadership, ask yourself who's missing from the table. There are leaders in this room, so you contribute to this and have control over this. I did an interview with Health Catalyst summer before last, and they were talking about gaps in leadership, gaps in pay, and steps that they had taken to improve these things. And one of the very interesting things that came out of that conversation, this is their chief people officer, she told me they started doing promotion cycles. So a lot of the time in my career, I could see that even with me or with others around me, we would get promoted after doing something specific, or because we had been there a certain amount of time, or because in one case, one of my employees came in to me and said, I'm not making enough money. And my wife says, I have to get a raise or I have to get a new job. And I'm like, oh, I don't want you to leave. I'll give you a raise. So it worked like that. And at Health Catalyst, they started doing promotion cycles where they only promote at a certain time of the year and they consider everyone for the promotion. So if there's a vice president role, everybody who's at director level is going to be considered, whether they threw their hat in the ring or not. And what's helpful about that is there have been, women are conditioned to speak about their career progress in a certain way. Susan Madsen, Dr. Susan Madsen from USU calls this a double bind sometimes. We get in trouble for not speaking up and negotiating for ourselves, but also if we're bold and we ask for things, then we're like career-driven and selfish and ambitious and all the words that are fine when applied to men and ugly when applied to women. We get labeled that way. And so if you go in and ask, like, I deserve this, I want to be promoted, then that stamps you a certain thing. But if you don't, then it's your fault you didn't get promoted, and that's the double bind. So Health Catalyst, by doing this promotion cycle and literally considering everyone, takes all that pressure off the woman. I don't have to go in and ask for the promotion. I'm going to be considered. And if I deserve it, then I get it. We talk about merit-based wages and hiring and promotions, but being truly merit-based is really complicated because how many factors go into making sure that someone is the absolute best for the role? Do you look at the two persons' degrees, which schools they went to, how many years they were in it, their results, but are your results in this industry the same as my results in the other industry? Like, it's really easy to say merit-based, but in practice, it's very difficult. And so Health Catalyst, by taking that step, I think they did something really remarkable and magical that isn't complicated, that all of you as leaders could implement and see a difference in your own company.
Tiffany, I feel like you're nodding, like you want to jump in on it. No, really, please, because we had this discussion before that you are very passionate about everyone having a seat at the table. Why don't they have? Why aren't women celebrating other women and lifting them up?
This is a little controversial, and I am really passionate about it. I think women have a hard time, like you said, wanting the spot, but then not going for the spot. So when someone else takes the spot, then they're kind of upset or competitive in a way that we don't have to be. One of the things that makes Utah so great is we have this ecosystem of men who knew how to have great businesses. They created unicorns. They came back, and what did they do? They grabbed other men and showed them how to do it. They were advocates for them. They were mentors to them. And as women, we struggle with doing that. We struggle with not only having them have a seat at the table, then once they're there, like, you're going to fight tooth and nail for it, but we should be advocates for each other. There's enough sunshine for everyone. Everyone's good at something different. No one's going to take someone's spot that's meant to be there. And I just think that once we realize that, we'll be a lot stronger altogether, men and women. And I don't think it's just women. I think men don't know how to do that. Like, as a woman, I was having this conversation the other day. I was like, hey, as a CEO, I can go around and hug everyone in my office and be like, hey, how's it going? How's your wife? How's your kids? Like, but a male CEO doesn't get to do that because it's creepy, right? So my team's like pumped, high-fiving, knuckling, like excited when they see me, but they wouldn't feel that way if it was a man. So we also need to help them, help us get a seat at the table. Tell us what we need. One of the best things that ever happened to me was when I first started my career. I was super young, and I had basically just spoken up at a barbecue. And someone was telling me how they were going to do their operations, and I was like, have you thought about this? And he's like, who are you? And I was like, no one, absolutely no one. And about 2 weeks later, because I'm really old, we didn't have cell phones back then, I get a call on my home phone. And he's like, hey, is Tiffany there? I'm like, this is her. And he tells me who he is, and he's a big businessman in Las Vegas. And he's like, hey, I want you to come and present your idea to my team. I was thinking about it. I think it's going to work. And I was like, oh, okay. So I get to Vegas, and I'm like, this is going to be great. I show up in a conference room, big glass conference room, tons of men at a table, and I was like, oh, shoot. And I totally froze. First of all, I didn't come with a presentation because I wasn't a businesswoman. I was just going to come tell you my idea. And second, like, it's all these men and just me, and I didn't know what to do. So he took me on the hall, and he said, hey, Tiff, you're just as valuable as everybody at this table. You were invited here because we want your brain. So if you're offered a seat at the table, speak up. And I think that's important for all women. When you're offered the seat at the table, speak up. Men are trying to get us there. They're advocating for us. They want us to win. I mean, Jeff is a prime example of that. So when we're offered a seat, like, take it.
I'll just jump in since you said my name. But I love giving a seat to women, and we just hired one of Melanie's good friends to run our operations. She's the VP of operations and en route to potentially COO, and I'm so excited about it. And she takes the bull by the horns, and I'm so proud of her. So I wondered if I could do a quick follow-up here. Have any of you had mentors that are female And how do we set that pattern in motion? And how can, if there are people in the audience that would love to be female mentors, talk to me. I'm starting a mentor program, but could we open that up just real quick? Anyone had a female mentor that was inspiration?
I'm going to go the other way. I've asked females. They've all said no.
I have too.
I have the most incredible men as my mentors, like Fortune 500 companies, fantastic men. Every woman has said no. So I got here because men said yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, right? And I look at my daughter like, so I've got my daughter's Hinkley, she's 12, and she came, when I was a COO, she came to my office and she was like, who's your boss? And I was like, oh, Tyler's my boss. She's like, what's his title? I'm like, he's the CEO. She's like, I want that job. And so now she's always wanting to know, like, how can she become a CEO? And she asks all the time. She asks her teachers, she asks her friends. But when we were younger, that wasn't a thing. We were going to be a ballerina nurse or a stay-at-home mom. And so I don't think we're used to having mentors that are women.
Yeah, all of my mentors have been men as well, but I think statistically that would make sense. When my career started, when I was young in my career, there's a shortage of female leadership anyway, but 30 years ago it was even smaller, right? So of course my mentors had to be men. They were the ones at the top. And I think to one of your questions before, Nicea, how do we get more women? Like, you have to be visible. Women who are in leadership positions, you have to be visible. There are so many times that Utah Business will give an award. We give awards every single month. We find categories of things and spotlight people. CEO of the Year or Most Influential Women, Kristin Andrus, everybody.
Yeah.
And we find reasons to recognize people. And I've never had a man say, oh, I don't deserve this award, I'm not ready. I have multiple times, more than I can count, had women reject awards. But if it's printed in the magazine, then your community sees like, oh, it's possible to be a woman and a COO in Utah, in the manufacturing industry, or whatever. They see that it's possible. If all of this is invisible, and there are women in leadership, and we don't see it, what do we have to aspire to it? And I think about my past, my mother's generation and my grandmother's generation here in Utah. It's not like I had a bunch of aunts or my grandma or my grandma's sisters who were executives. I didn't have anyone like that to look at. This is new. There have been nationally some women, of course, who have been in high-powered positions like that, but I didn't know anyone like that. And so what I was building, I felt like I was building alone and myself, and had to figure out on my own, like, all right, this is how my boss leads. He's a guy. He has a different personality than me. Do I lead the same way as him? Do I figure something else out? If I get emotional, does that mean that I'm weak? If I ask my employees these questions, because this is how women communicate, is that weird? Is that not a real leader? Like, it all becomes very daunting when you feel like you're making your way on your own. So just being visible, I think, is really important to raising up the next group of leaders in our community.
I have a mentor who is my mom. And I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. So when I hear like that you felt like that in the 90s, I'm dying because I did not feel like that in the 90s in Walnut Creek, California. But my mom got her MBA the same time my dad got his MBA. She worked. She put off having kids. She ended up having 4 kids. She hired help so that she could go volunteer. I follow in her footsteps in a lot of ways. But I watched how she owned the kind of mother she was. Like, I get help because I go and do this and I want to work and I want. And so then I come to Utah 19 years ago, and I'm like, wait, what the heck? You know, I'm like, I owned a gym. I bought Jeremy and I's first house. He bought the last one, but I bought the first one. I was in sales. I made a ton of money. Like, and I get here and I'm like, wait, so it is a little, I will say, I think a little bit of a Utah thing that we need to do better and stand up and say, that's like not okay here. Because we then need to be the moms that our kids are looking at. And we're like, oh, it doesn't work that way here in Utah. Because my mom worked, my mom did this, my mom showed up, my mom hired help, we got a nanny, whatever it may be, went to daycare. Because 72% of us work. right? So like, hello, legislature, hello, everybody. Women work and we need daycare and we need these things. And the more that we show up and we say, this is the kind of woman I am, this is the kind of mom I am. And when I watch my mom own who she was as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, I'm like, yes, that's better. Rather than saying like, I'm going to pretend that I don't ever need help. Like the women that look like they're doing everything have so much help and good for them, right? But don't pretend that you do it on your own. And so we have to show up with authenticity and say, this is how I'm going to show up and this is how I'm going to do it. By the way, when I came to Utah, all of my neighbors, they're my best friends, are like, who is this girl? This is so weird. Her husband's not home at 5 and she wants to leave her kids with someone. And I'm like, yes. But then they stopped talking about me because I told them that this is who I am and I'm a much better mom that way. And the amount of women that were like, me too, I need this too, I just didn't know how to say it. We have to show up in our true authentic selves as women, whether it's in business, at home, in the neighborhood.
No, you have to see it to be it. You have to see it. Jen, I know you want to weigh in.
Well, I was just going to say that those two examples that you guys gave, those are the other side of vulnerability. You know, like the saying yes, even when it's scary, to like put yourself out there. Yeah, I am this person. I am that mom and I'm not apologizing. You know, that's vulnerable. And it's hard to put yourself out there to judge, to be judged, you know, but I think the more we do it, the less our daughters have to do it. And then the more these, you know, these conversations, this path that we're building for them can continue. And maybe we don't have, you know, the same problems in 10 years. Who knows? Who knows how quickly we can do it if we can be vulnerable.
Our daughters are watching you.
So, as a woman who has turned down an award,
Stop it.
okay, so
Tiffany.
I was talking to a man, and he said, you know what, Tiff, I think it's so interesting because our 30 to watch and our 30 under 30 or our 40 over 40, they're all the same women. Do we not have more than 30 women that are awesome in Utah? And which is true, right? Like, why do we double award them? Like, come on, people. However, I told him, I was like, hey, I've turned down multiple awards, and I turn them down because I haven't built my career enough that I don't feel like I have a bullseye on my back. So I'm just going to silently win and build things and do a good job, because as soon as I win, every woman's going to pay attention to me and everyone's going to want to knock me off my lap.
We'll do it on the way.
Right?
We'll do it on the way.
So
say yes.
Yeah, right.
Somebody
I
nominate
will.
her, okay?
in the future. But I think that's a real thing too. So as women, champion women, you see someone out there getting an award, congratulate them, be excited for them, like aspire to want to be like them instead of being jealous of them and having people feel like, I'd rather not take that because I know I'm silently winning.
We're not only worth watching when we're done, when we're perfect, right? We're worth watching all the way on the entire messy journey. Any step that you're on, you're worth watching.
Any age that you are.
Yeah.
Any age.
Amen.
Kristin, you're out there talking to women all the time. What then would you see the challenges that they say they face, that they say it's hard to get out of their shell and out of themselves and push themselves to make a difference and to be in the forefront in their community? What are the challenges? What do you say to them, and how do we help them overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's your brain. It's your thoughts, right? And I think growing up, watching women or watching your mom's thoughts, but watching her actions or her behavior or the women around you or the women, what they're not doing, I think it's our thoughts, which then create our actions, which create our results. And so I hate to go back to the brain thing, but if we don't think we are the ones, and my parting comment always when I speak is, if not me, who? And if not now, when? And women's brains, and I call them their crazy roommates, right? Like we have these crazy roommates and they're our brains and they're talking at us all day long. And are they like helpful or are they crazy? Mostly they're crazy for a lot of us, right? Tell me. Yes? Okay. So when we can retrain our brain and say that spiral, that story, that thing I've always been telling myself, that thing that my mom told me and still tells me, maybe. I hear this from my friends here. I'm like, it's so bizarre to me, but they do. Like, really, you're going to leave your kids and go on a girls' trip? Heck yes, I am. As often as possible, right? So you stop and you can retrain your brain to say, that is not a story that's serving me. Or why the whole Clayton Christensen, what am I hiring that story for? Why do I continue to go down that path of this is a way it's supposed to look? And so I try to bring women in to say that is actually not you. The lonely woman, the no purpose, whatever, that is not you. And what I started with this morning was, what if you're most, and I actually said, as you enter into this morning, I want you to believe this. I want you to say this. And even if you don't believe it, believe it. What if your most important work is ahead of you? And I said, who believes that? Less than half of the room was like, I don't. And I said, so you're done? Like, your most important work is behind you? And they're like, So we have to re-say, my most important work is in front of me. I'm 45 years old. How exciting. And we just need to change the narrative. And really, it's our brains and our, these thought patterns. It seems simple or rudimentary, but it is the truth.
I'm going to jump in. So retraining the brain, it's powerful. It's really hard, but it's the right thing to do. Can I ask, selfish for my 20-year-old daughter, if one of you, thank you, Kristin, what would any of you say to my 20-year-old that says, I'm jumping into this world, I don't know what I'm capable, I'm a little bit like my hands half raised? What would you tell her, or what would you tell your 20-year-old self, to get on that path of courage?
Take yourself seriously. I think that's something I struggle with. Like, anything that you can contribute, take it seriously. Like, don't think that it's not good enough, and tell those, crazy roommate thoughts to quiet, because you are here. You might as well contribute. You might as well show, your daughters who you can be, and your daughter is going to do amazing things. Everybody has something that God gave them, or something deep inside them. If they don't believe in God, that they already know is in there. Like, everybody knows, like, they have something there that they need to get out and contribute. So maybe that's why we're a little bit crazy ourselves, because we're not letting it out. Maybe that's why. Stop doubting ourselves, but just take ourselves seriously and push forward.
I think it's Nike's commercial of female sports athletes, and they say, if this is what crazy is, then heck yeah, I'm crazy. Own your crazy. So, did you have something, Tiffany?
I would tell them that they're tougher than they think they are, and they can do hard things. When I became a CEO of a company, I became CEO, I got divorced, one of my kids had a child, another kid got married, all in the same year. And I changed full careers, and it was tough. And you just have to tell yourself, hey, I can take time to feel this and then get up and keep going. So I will literally set a timer sometimes. My kids will give me the crappiest news, and I'm like, 15 minutes. I have 15 minutes to feel this. I'm going to feel it later tonight. Or if it's something big, I'm taking a day off work, because today is reading in bed day. I'm ordering takeout. We're going to DoorDash. I'm going to stay in bed, and tomorrow I'm going to get up and do it again. But you're tougher than you think you are. You just have to keep going.
Melanie, what about you? Advice to your younger self?
I heard this saying once, kind of recently, that was, no one's coming to rescue you. And it hit me pretty hard, because I think when I was younger, I was raised that, you go to school and then you get married and you have kids. And I didn't get married until quite late for Utah standards. And so I was kind of biding time until I found the husband, right? And what was I doing during that time? I was working. I was just working at the job that I found. I was doing a good job. I was having a good time. But was it the path that I wanted for myself? It was just kind of what landed in my lap. And I thought it was cool that this thing landed in my lap, but is it the career I would have designed for myself? Is it the path I would have designed for myself? And so I think I would tell my younger self, or tell my daughters, that you need to know what you want and then chart out a path of how to get there, and don't expect that it will just come to you, because maybe it will eventually, but sometimes I feel like I wasted a lot of time being in an industry that didn't light me up. I definitely loved the work I was doing and the people that I was with, but it was nothing like what I get to do now. And it would have been cool to get here sooner.
Congrats on finding your intention. Love that.
Can I just say something quickly? I am not concerned about your kids in this room, because you're here and you are privileged to be here. I am really concerned about other Utah kids who do not and will never have their parents in this room. So I hope as you're thinking about what to tell the 20-year-old, what to tell the 12-year-old, how to engage Utahns, there are so many children out there that need you. They need you individually. They need you as a mentor. They do not have that. They will never have that if some of us don't step up and step in, not to give money, but to be a friend and to show up as a mentor. So if that speaks to you, follow that. That is what Utah will make Utah great. Our kids will be fine. They just will. But those other kids won't. So I hope we think about them as well.
Yeah, thank you for thinking about the people on the fringe. That's a high road. We've got about 5 minutes, and then we're going to turn over to Q&A. I wonder if we do a quick stab at some general questions, just so we
Let's do it.
tease up to the audience to have a couple of topics to cover. Do you want to take one or?
Well, I think we've been talking about women, and if we want, Jen, let's ask you this one, to peek at brand strategy, then how do businesses and companies market women and best speak to them?
Well, I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking about, it's kind of an interesting, I think sometimes we think of mothers as like, they don't have an advantage, but I think there's a phrase, and I might butcher it, but it's she who rocks the cradle rules the world, right? We literally have test kitchens. We have test subjects. We have so much data coming into our homes. And us moms, or women in general, we have so much input on what is going to be driven forward, which products, which things we believe in, we put so much out there that influences everybody. So I think that's incredibly powerful. We do influence already just with our own families and what products that we believe in and what we want for our kids and what vision we have for our families or our homes. I got lost a little bit on what you actually had asked, but you could tell I'm passionate. We do have a huge advantage on how to drive the market. And I think that's why it's so incredibly powerful to, like you said, have a strategy moving forward, take yourself seriously, all these messages. Let's put it into something, because there's a lot of women here in Utah who are business owners. Maybe they are on Etsy, they have an Etsy shop. Let's push it forward a little bit. Let's see where you can get. And that's the other thing. Women are so innovative because we have to be, because we have 7 kids. We have so many things to get done in the day that we are seeing where the holes are, either in the market or in the products that we're using. We can see how things should be and how, if we made little tweaks. So put it into your own companies. Let's do that.
Yeah, the data and consumer insights are rich in a home. I run a female beauty brand, and I'm going to plant a seed here for this last question, and then we'll turn over to the audience. But be thinking of a female-founded brand that inspires you while I tell a little bit of a story. So I run a beauty brand, and I hire a lot of powerful women, but they eat, sleep, and drink beauty. They know what we need next. They know how to build product roadmap based on their needs. For so long, me and my brother ran this company trying to predict what women wanted for beauty products. And now I have almost approaching 70% women in my corporation, and we are crushing it because they get it. And so I'm inspired by them because they have gut instincts. They have real life experience at home that indicates what mass market wants. So who has an inspiring female founder that they're watching?
Sarah Blakely, always.
What are you inspired? What specifically?
I love her origin story. I love how gritty she was and how she was making this stuff and then just going into, where was it, Saks Fifth Avenue or something? Just her and her little bag of goods and getting contracts like that. And I see these stories replicated in the Utah ecosystem as well, where people didn't know what they were doing and then they just marched in and acted like they did. If you have heard of LitJoy Crate, which is based in American Fork, these 2 awesome women founders, And the way that they got started is just so audacious, like calling these publishing houses and acting like they knew what they were doing until somebody let them do it. And Sarah Blakely strikes me as that kind of person. And I think it's really brave and bold. And I would like to be like that someday.
She's a powerhouse. Do we have one more?
I have a woman named Nahati, and she's from Somalia. And she has been through the unimaginable. And she started cooking in the Squarespace kitchen. And she now has her own food truck. And she now has her own restaurant on 13 South and State. And has amazing chicken and chapati and all of the good stuff. And I just watch what she still endures every day and has just built the American dream here in Salt Lake City.
So awesome.
Tiffany, do you want to weigh in before we take questions? What kind of success can be achieved if you market to women, and how do you reach them?
Okay, so marketing to women's interesting because you have to tell a story. Women want to hear a story, and it's a numbers thing. Like, it's been proven that women like to back companies that have a good mission. So when you look at it, you're going to sell to a man once, you're going to sell to a woman. She's going to be, if you're good, she's going to be loyal to your brand. She's going to bring people in. She's going to drive more consumers than anyone else. So why we're not focusing on women, like, I don't know. It's just the truth. And we look at the future. So we look at women are going to be the ones that shape retail and online, right? Because women are the big buyers. So right now, we're going to succeed if we can integrate an omni-channel that works with their flexibility, works with their needs, works with their time. That's how we're going to win in retail. So by telling a story, like Dove Letters got out there, Dove deodorant, and all sorts of different women, tell your story. Biggest campaign out there. Everyone still remembers it, nodding their head, because we wanted to hear their stories. So if you want to market to women, find out what women need, what their problems are, and then tell a story about them, about how people are solving that problem.
Does that mean it's done? I did just get really dark and dramatic here on stage.
The audience all left it.
I know, everyone's gone. We can't see anyone.
It's kind of better because he's not so nervous.
Not so scary now.
Yeah.
All right, but I can kind of see you. Do you have questions for our panel? Raise your hand, speak loudly, or we can repeat your question. I see you right here. Go ahead.
Hey, Ava, can you come right here? You can have my mic. Yeah, we all want to hear what you have to say.
Yes, please.
I'll start from the top. I'm Ava. I've been working in a male-dominated field in a large company in legal, and I have felt like in the past I've had to work what feels like twice as hard to have a voice. What's your advice for women who feel like they're up against that glass ceiling?
Hi, I guess it's me. So for me, what helped, I am actually naturally, I'm good in small groups, but in big groups, I get super shy. It's why I turn down awards. It's why I don't go out in big
I'm
groups.
not listening to that excuse anymore.
I know, but it's true. So for me, what was really helpful is I did find male mentors, and I said, hey, they're talking to me this way. And he'd say, okay, well, maybe try this, and maybe try this. And we were able to just riff back and forth until it was something that I felt comfortable with, but it really resonated with the other person I was talking to, and I realized, oh, this is this is how I need to operate, but it's really scary at first. And I think people resonate with being vulnerable. If you go in, and I've never had anyone, man or woman, if I went in and said, like, I need to have a really vulnerable conversation with you, like, you automatically put your guard down. And they're like, okay, what do you have to say? So I would start it that way, and maybe riff with someone who you trust to say, like, what should I say?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for amazing panel. I was so excited to walk into this room, and I was like, women panel, yes. So it's been super refreshing to see so many beauties on the stage. Thank you, Jeff, too.
Hi, Anna.
And Jeff.
And Jeff. He's amazing. Thank you for all your support. So I am actually a new founder. I just bought a company called Moxie Weighted Blankets. So woohoo! For women entrepreneurs. I'm so excited. Looking for a lot of kind of topics that you spoke about and finding that perfect mentor. I actually love working with men. I think they bring like great perspective to what I'm lacking sometimes as a woman in the field too. And I'm coming from physical space of architecture building, so male dominant careers are everywhere, and we don't have to be only male dominated, only women dominated. We don't have to have male and women sticking to kind of to each other. I think when we take the gender out of factor, like, why do I have to be only with specific people? Like, I want to learn from everyone, and I want everyone to be a global community supporting each other. So I'm looking for people who want to support my brand as well, because we're just growing and looking forward to bring you amazing products. But I would love to have some women mentors as well. So thank you so much.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your company. Thank you. Another question? Yeah, round of applause. Go right ahead. You have the mic.
I have been here for 4 days, and it has been an awesome experience hearing from what has been dubbed the best and the brightest in Utah, and homegrown and entrepreneurs and successful. I'm just wondering why this session on women empowerment and leadership is the very last one, Friday night at 4:30 to 5:30.
We wondered the same
downtown.
thing.
We all
assumed they
wondered.
saved the best
Last,
for
the
last.
best of all the game.
Just wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm going, Nicea.
Jen and I were just talking about this, and she has ends with the leadership here. But I think year after year, I think we're all building a better place in Utah where these conversations are more common. And if I can be a champion for that, I'm here for it. But thank you.
It could have been my scheduling too. No, I'm not. I had that thing this morning because my husband spoke earlier, and I said I can't speak till later in the afternoon.
If that's true, I accept that one.
that is true. I actually forgot
I'll tell
about
you
that.
the,
till
the
right
real
now.
reason.
Sorry, guys.
So the real
I didn't need to
reason
be on.
is when we're putting this together, we had actually created the panels, and Jen said to me, "You know what? This is not good enough. We need to inspire women from around," and that was created, and we added another time slot. But anyway, good job, Jen.
I'd like to ask the question, though, we should be asking
Yes,
on
Jen.
that is, for every all-male panel, we should have all-female panels. So if we only have one female panel here, but we had plenty of all-male panels, we probably need to think
But can I just add something? Like I can't remember the weighted blanket woman. Yeah, you. Good job. I'm gonna root for your company. But yeah, something that you said. Like, I would love to get to the point where it's not a thing either. Like, who cares? Let's not, like, I have 4 sons, 3 daughters. Yes, that's 7 kids. We have 7 kids, and
Wait, 7,
7,
8, 7. Oh wait, 7, 6.
So my
I
two,
only have
my
four.
two did feel
I
like a
only have
lot until just now.
2 is a lot. 2 is a lot. Any number of kids is a lot. And I just want to say something that, like, when we get to that point, wow, it's going to be so refreshing, because I don't want to, like, there are amazing men in my life. I have 4 brothers, an amazing dad, amazing grandfathers, my husband, my sons, so it's not about us versus them, or let's, like, do this hoorah for women. Like, let's just put more opportunities out there. Let's, as women, say yes more. Let's not be afraid to be vulnerable. Let's put our ideas into action. So I don't know, like, is it unpopular? Like, I think that we need to put ourselves out there more too. And I look forward to that day when it's not a thing, when it's just men and women, and whoever's the best and the brightest, whoever is the one, should be on the panel. It's not the same 30 or 40. What did you say? There's like the same people getting the awards, because everybody that can build their business or build their brand or put themselves out there into a high operating, like, not even, you don't even have to be uber, like, I'm the CXO or I'm the CEO or whoever. Whatever you do it the best you can, and let's get more women out there so that there is more of a pool of people to promote and everything else that our daughters can see. So sorry for the rant, but that's how I feel.
Okay, so devil's advocate on this one. I think there are a lot of women, but we have to be asked. To be on these panels, we're asked. And to have a voice, we're asked. And so we need to be asked more. And I think the one thing, I was having this discussion with a man here in Utah who I absolutely admire. And he was like, Tiff, why is it so important that women are telling their story? And I'm like, it's not because it's man versus woman. I love men. I'm here because men helped me get here. I didn't have a female mentor, like I said. Men helped me. I moved out of my house when I was 16. I did not have a great home. I did not have a great home life. My mom was not like this great example for me. Men helped me get there, and they believed in me. So I am a champion for men and women. However, we get here different. Our journey is different. And the reason why it's so valuable that more women are on panels and more women are talking about the same things is we're going to have a different experience of a man. A man can go and like, hey, I've done this and I brought my friend in and we did this. And a woman's like, okay, well, I did this and I skirted over here and then I tried this and I had to like bob and weave and this is how I got here. And we need to hear each other's stories of how we got there. There was this great CEO, and I think he was the CEO of Microsoft, but don't quote me on that one. I was reading all these CEO books. And he said, at the beginning of our meeting, we don't talk about what we did wrong this week. We talked about what we did right. So we are a tribe, like we are hunters and gatherers. So if you tell people how you got the blueberry, they're more likely to get the blueberry instead of focusing on like what we don't have. And I think that's how it is for women. The reason it's so important for us is other women aren't going to get there unless we tell them how we got there. And men can't help them unless they know how. So if we're not speaking up, no one can help each other. So it's not a man versus woman thing.
I would say, too, I'm always bringing it away from business, but with policy and the legislature as well, which is so interesting. Every woman, a lot of the women legislators say, I was asked to do this. So that you say that in business is very interesting that it's the same. But if we're going to change Utah or you don't like Utah politics or policy, we need more women who understand the home, who understand the gaps, who understand everything you were saying about business. I'm like, that's exactly what she could be talking about policy and how we set up our state. And it's Dr. Susan Matson would be a great woman to follow and read up on her research because there's so many layers. This is not like, let's go do this. It's like hundreds of years and then we're here, And so there's a lot to unpack, but understanding it will help you. And then being in the powers that be that actually make policies and change and business, whatever it is just as important as business because it's very mindful.
I'm going to throw a challenge out to both Silicon Slopes and anybody who is organizing a conference. I think there has been improvement this year when you think about last year. The speaker lineup was announced and there were women who jumped onto LinkedIn and were very upset that no women at all were on the stage the entire time. This year has been much better because at least we have this women's panel. No, I'm just kidding. We have had women on the stage throughout Silicon Slopes, and that was a dramatic improvement. But I think that when you're intentional about this, you can make it happen. It's not like we don't have amazing women in this business community who have something to teach and something to show. And if you're lacking in a list of speakers, I invite you to subscribe to Utah Business Magazine, where we highlight people every single month, and you can steal those from the list. We at Utah Business threw a conference in November. It was the second year in a row, and we had all Utah speakers, 100% Utah speakers, and we had exactly 50% stage time for men and women. And it's not, thank you, and it's not quotas, and it's not DEI. Are you going to tell me that Nicole Tanner, the founder of Swig, doesn't have something to teach us? Of course she does. We had all women up on our stage who had something to teach us. They are here in our community. If your network does not include these women, if you're planning a conference and you're thinking of who should speak and men are only coming to your mind, ask people, who could I have talk and bring in a different perspective? And feel free to email me. I meet so many incredible women in my line of work, and I would be thrilled to help you fill out your roster.
Such good questions. Let's get another one. 5 more minutes.
Go ahead.
Well, you've covered a lot of what I was going to ask. I'm in here from out of town. I'm from D.C. I'm actually I went to high school and college here in Utah, but I've left most of my adult life. I've been around the world, and I'm building a business, and I'm literally here this week to see if this is a good place for a woman to do business.
You're welcome here.
I'm shocked that last year you said there were 0 women on the stage because it already felt like so few women to me this time. So my question is, what standard are you willing to hold this conference to for next year so that women like me are ready to come in here?
Okay, so this event, Silicon Slopes, because I help them, a lot of women turn it down and they're double the price. And so to get men to come and to get women to come, it's completely different. And I have seen them on the back end try, and here's where we struggle. Women say like, hey, we should have more powerful women. Can we network so we can get these powerful like Brene Brown and people that they want here? But we don't network during the year. And then when we reach out to them, they say no. So it's also us putting our money where our mouth is and saying as women like, hey, let's have this community. Let's get to know people. So, I mean,
Is that all on the women?
do what?
Is that responsibility all on the women?
No, I think it's women and men, and Silicon Slopes has offered to help with that. And they did start getting it up to with a girl, and she kind of didn't do it. However, they keep trying. And so as someone who is not connected with Silicon Slopes, CEO of Brandless only, I have seen how hard they've tried to get women, and I don't think that's massive.
I did not have one bit of trouble filling my roster with women, not one bit. So if they need help, I am here. I'm here to help. And thank you. To your question, what standard am I willing to hold themselves to? I've been thinking about this a lot. This is the 3rd panel I've participated in at this conference. And the first 2, I didn't know who the panelists would be until about a week and a half or 2 weeks before, something like that. One panel was all men and me. And I was concerned about that, even though I'm not the one who organized the panel. I don't have a say. I'm not an organizer. So do I look at that and I go, okay, at least if I show up, there's a woman on the stage. But what standard am I willing to hold the conference to? And no shade, what a great community event, truly. And this is something that I'm offering to help with. I don't want to be critical. I want to tell you about a quick experience I had. So this was a couple of years ago at Pluralsight Live. I had the opportunity to see Pat Mitchell on stage, who I didn't know anything about at the time. I'm really embarrassed by that. Nicea probably knows all about Pat Mitchell. She's like a veteran broadcast journalist, CNN, interviewed Fidel Castro in Cuba, just like powerhouse woman, founded TED Women, and I had the chance to meet her backstage. And I was like, I'm such an admirer after hearing you talk and building TED Women. I was working at TEDx Salt Lake City at the time, and I was like, our event is next week. If you're still in town, love to have you come. And her question was this: is your speaking roster at gender parity? And I said, I don't know, I haven't counted. And her husband pulled me aside afterward and he said, here's the thing with Pat. Pat is such a great soul. She'll come and speak at your conference for basically nothing sometimes. Not nothing, okay. But like for the stature that she has, she'll do it for a really reasonable fee. But she won't do it if an event isn't at gender parity. And this is a way that she uses the power and influence that she has developed over her lengthy career to lift up other women. And so she'll say to the conference organizer, are you willing to bring your roster to gender parity in order to have me on the stage? And that's how she does it. Now, I am not Pat Mitchell, and Silicon Slopes would not rearrange anything to have me on the stage. They might for you, Kristin. They might for you. But that is one thing that I could do when I'm asked in the future, and something I've had to think about.
So
is
I'm just kind of adding on to that. I think it really depends on the industry a lot. And this year, today, and yesterday, we did retail, and we had 13 women speakers. And we just in retail, we have the ability. I mean, there's a lot more women than there are typically in tech. So I don't think Silicon Slopes is trying to avoid women. I don't think that's at all the case.
And I don't think that either.
Yeah,
You have to be intentional to sway it the other way.
You do, and in fact, that was the discussion that we had many times. There's a couple like Albion Fit, for example, and Manly Bands. They're both husband and wife, and we wanted to make sure they were both represented. But I think, there's super talented people either way. We're talking to Melanie Cox. She's probably, top 2 or 3 executives in the entire state. And I mean, there's incredibly competent people. And so anyway, I think this type of stuff is a really good way to get it started.
I believe Jeremy is the type of guy that will lead us in that direction. And I'm appreciative of all that he's doing, but that's such a powerful question and inspiring to hear the fire come out. I would love it. I just would applaud. Good job.
What's our timing, Jeff?
What's that?
Is our time's up?
Sadly, we're at
Sadly, it
last time.
is. Hey, thank you all for being here. One more round of applause for our panelists. They did an incredible job. Especially, it's the last panel of the day. So we so appreciate you all being here and your time. Thank you so much.